Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today.
We'll get it eventually.
Well, okay. Like, for the greater good. We have with us today Landon Noll and Chris Hansen.
It's actually Chris Hansen.
Okay.
And he did actually ask us to take a seat before the show.
He's joined us today because he's on an epic quest to catch a predator. And that predator's name is Job, because we are starting the book of Job today.
We are starting.
About time.
We've got some noise from Chris, though. I hear it again.
Well, we got some noise from somewhere.
It's not showing up that much here.
Hopefully it's not me, but good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone and latitude, and perhaps attitude from your friendly secular astronomer. And I'm going to be here adding kibitzing commentary to the book of Job.
Yeah. And we're doing 2 jobs today.
2 jobs. So, Chris, how about you introduce yourself? I know you've been on the show a few times before. But let everyone know, who you are and how much you love the Book of Job.
Chris?
Well, I can visually show you how much I love it.
Good.
These are all my commentaries on the Book of Job. There's a lot of them.
What's your favorite commentary?
Probably Tor Sinai's commentary. It mostly just because it's the most intriguing out of all of them. A lot of it doesn't really hold up anymore, but some of his readings are really, really important actually for modern translators.
And by the way, folks, he's not kidding. That really is a stack of detailed commentary on the book of Job.
And he's read each of them twice.
I've read most of them twice. Some of them I haven't, because some of them are just flat out uninteresting.
Just to be clear, this is coming from a person who thinks Simon Parker is interesting, and he's not.
Oh.
Simon Parker's amazing, you cuck.
Okay, you know what? It's the driest shit I've ever read. Also, don't you dare judge.
No. You have not read the driest shit until you've read Neil Silberman's books on his own.
That's fair. I have not read his books. I've not read the ones authored solely by him.
I think Aristotle's as dry as I'll get.
Well, we could have a dry off.
Aristotle.
Yeah.
Okay, all of you have terrible taste. Aristotle is amazing. Fuck you.
Wow. You have very interesting tastes.
I love. Look right up there. Those 2 blue volumes in the back.
Yeah.
Those are the complete works of Aristotle. I've read all of them.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, but they're like reading through politics was a pain for me. I couldn't handle it. I was just like, why? Why would anyone?
Yeah, I feel like that about most things. Why? Why would anyone?
I think we should hop into the 100-point show, though.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yeah,
So what is your 100-point show question? Hopefully it's not about the Book of Job, because, I mean, otherwise Chris is going to get it.
Well, it is about the Book of Job.
Well, fuck.
Geez,
Yeah, no.
Wins.
You know what? I think we're all going to win.
Okay.
Because it's a yes or no question.
No.
The question is...
I believe the answer will be no, but I'm just speculating.
Is Job the oldest book in the Bible?
Ooh. Well, you see. No. No,
Cool.
it isn't.
Does everyone say no?
No. What does the chat room think?
Oh, come on. Haven't we,
I mean,
this?
they might have an opportunity to get 100 points.
Yeah, he's using his Ask the Audience thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He can call a friend.
No, I'm going to officially say no as my answer, which is...
Everybody gets 100
Correct.
points.
Alias
Yay!
fake name says
Well, that's very
yes,
generous of you.
just to piss off Chris.
Fair enough.
Which one?
Alias fake name.
No, which Chris?
Chris Hansen, the important Chris.
Oh, good, because I'm always pissed anyways. Fuck that opinion.
Yeah, nihilists tend to be pissed off for some reason. I don't understand it.
Hey,
Neither.
fuck yourself.
I can't.
Well,
I'm not that flexible.
I'll get right on it. Off camera, of course.
what is your 100-point show question?
My 100-point show question
Yeah.
is: you receive 1 King's Rock in.
Hold on. We're getting some background noise. I'm not sure who that's from.
Chris, the thing, or Landon, but it's just repeated.
Yeah, it's like a kind of beat.
It's like a treadmill.
Yeah, something like a treadmill, kind of.
It's coming. On my thing. It's coming from you guys.
I'm hearing on this side.
Weird.
It must be from
Now it
Landon.
stopped.
Weird. Okay.
How could it be from me? It's nothing making sound here.
It seems
I
to
got my
stop when he's
headphones on.
talking. That's weird.
That is
That is
weird.
very strange.
Alright.
I don't understand it.
Well,
the internet's
maybe you need some
beyond me.
headphones there, buddy.
He's got
It
headphones.
has headphones.
Oh, Chris, though.
What had nothing to do with Chris?
Hansen,
But-
do you have headphones?
But is it? I mean, is it? I don't hear it anymore.
No,
Yeah, it's
Landon,
gone now.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's
you,
gone
buddy.
now.
Okay, either way.
Anyways, probably with the Book of Job.
Probably. This is the work of Satan.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, my 100-point show question is that in the Generation 2 Pokemon games, Gold and Silver, not Yellow, that doesn't count as Generation 2,
Okay.
even though it came out after Red and Blue.
Okay.
There is 1 King's Rock. You are forced to choose between one of 2 Pokemon that you can evolve with that King's Rock by trade. What are the 2 Pokemon that can possibly be the result of evolution from King's Rock in Pokemon Gold and Silver?
One of them is Poliwhirl, and the other one is I don't remember.
Slowking
And
Job.
and Poliwrath, or
Poliwhirl.
the stupid frog, the mono water type of the Poliwag line. Come
or
on,
po-
he's right.
you're
Okay.
still not getting it, though.
But I want it.
No, because he's talking about which Pokemon need that to evolve.
I'm
so
talking about the Pokemon that
What are
is the
these-
result of evolution
yeah.
Oh.
from King's Rock.
Oh, okay. So then it would be
Slowking.
Slowking
Yes.
and Politoed.
Yes, that's
Politoed.
correct.
Okay.
You got the 100 points.
I was just gonna say Pikachu and Magikarp.
Yeah.
It's always Magikarp. So, what are your 100-point show questions, guys?
Over, Chris.
Okay. What are the 4 languages that have been supposed for the origin of Job?
Let's see. There's. I'm gonna go with Hebrew,
Damn.
Aramaic,
Hebrew, yes.
Edomite, and Elamite.
I'm going to go with Hebrew, Aramaic, Edomite, and Eblaite.
I'm gonna go with the same
Ooh.
3 and 4. I'm gonna go with both of their answers. 'Cause yeah, haha, I did it.
My 4th answer will be Sumerian.
All 4 are wrong.
Ah,
Damn.
fuck.
It is. So most of you got 3 of them right. Hebrew, Aramaic, and Edomite. The 4th one is Arabic.
Arabic.
What?
Arabic. Well, it is a Semitic language.
Yeah.
You know, I was
Okay.
gonna say Sanskrit,
That's-
but what have you?
That's
It's not
creative.
Aramaic or Arabic.
You're right. That's not Arabic.
I would be very intrigued by a Sanskrit copy of the Book of Job.
Like an ancient one.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay. Well, you know that oftentimes my 100-point questions have something to do with 100. But today I decided to do something slightly different.
Damn, I was
Today,
gonna guess
I'm-
100 right
I'm
off the
just
bat.
a little bit lower than that. My question has to do with 99. Now, you're probably familiar with the very long song called 99 Bottles of Beer.
Yes.
Yes.
When was that song first composed?
think it. If it actually was, I
You-
have no idea.
You can give a rough date or something, and maybe we can give 100 points to the person that's closest.
You guys look so sorry.
1914.
Okay, got a 1914. What else?
1812.
1812. Next.
Yeah, I'm just gonna round numbers. 1900.
1900. Anything else? Anyone else like the chat room?
Chris.
That'd be
Hansen?
Chris.
I'm gonna go with the date of Jesus' birth,
Which is?
We don't know.
4 AD roughly.
Maybe.
Okay. It turns out that 9 Bottles of Beer is actually, anonymous folk song, actually dating back to the mid 20th century. So the 1914 is closest. And so I would propose that person who gave the 1914 get 99 points because it's
Aha!
not quite correct.
You get it.
99
Congratulations.
points. I'll take one down and pass
Pass it around.
And by the way, it's actually similar to there's a British song called 10 Green Bottles, which the 99 bottles of beer was sort of done on, but the 10 Green Bottles was not meant to be alcoholic. So it's presumably goes back to, eras where it was where beer was poo-pooed more.
What
Anyway.
about
99 red balloons.
Luftballons?
Luftballons.
And it's interesting
My-
people to ask the question: has anyone ever sung the entire song?
No.
I don't know.
Probably.
Out
No.
loud?
Yes.
Well, I fought the whole thing out in sequence. That's not.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count, though.
No.
And there actually was a comedy act with stand-up comics that did it, and there. But the question is, what is the last verse?
No more bottles of beer on the wall.
No more
Everybody
bottles
is
of beer.
sad because there's no alcohol left.
There's nothing to take down or pass around. No bottles of beer.
Actually, at that point, everybody already has a beer, so you don't need to take any more bottles.
There you go. But other thing said, no more bottles of beer on the wall. No bottles of beer. Go to the store, buy some more. 99 bottles of beer on the wall.
Oh
And you
my
start
god.
Oh my god.
You know
It
what?
goes on
Hey,
forever.
Landon, you know what's the far better version of this?
Yeah.
Infinity bottles of beer on the wall. Infinity bottles.
Bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. Infinity bottles of beer on the wall. Yes.
Well, minus
Great
one.
song.
You should keep track of all the ones you took.
Infinity
No.
minus one.
'Cause it's still infinity.
minus one.
Yeah, it's still one. Anyway, so this is such. I mean, I figured this is somewhat relevant to the Book of Job, but there you go.
Oh,
And
actually,
by the way, I think if I could do a pre-shill,
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
very grateful to have won this T-shirt.
Yes.
This is a T-shirt that you can go onto their. I guess you have a Teespring store or something, and
Yes.
I know we can shill beforehand. We can shill beforehand as well, saying you get this great T-shirt that says "Blame the Bible," right? Because it's got an I has an umlaut over it.
Yeah, it's not the Bible, so Christians can't get mad at us
yeah.
because we're not
and-
blaming the Bible.
And if you would like a wacky and fun T-shirt like Landon's "Blame the Bible"
Yeah.
T-shirt, then
Link is in the description, or you could be a $10 patron and get
Yeah.
entered into a T-shirt giveaway, which, by the way, we will announce the winner of the next T-shirt giveaway next week.
Yes, we
So
will.
if you become
Yes.
a patron,
you may
you
be the next
yeah,
winner.
Exactly.
You've
Whoa.
just
Yes.
lowered the odds for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
That's true. But also, you could still win.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm just going to do some quick announcements because we are like almost at 15 minutes.
666 Drive.
Yep, the 66 drive. That is currently, well, it hasn't really moved. So
It
it's at
hasn't.
like 350.
Around 350.
Yeah, we're gonna-
So,
It's an alchemy drive. We're going to try to turn something into gold
Yeah.
using some old magic.
and if we can't turn anything into gold, then we will upload a video of that too.
Yeah,
But but with regards to your previous 666 drive, has any trees like deformed or bent or?
No.
You know, they haven't bent at all.
Yeah, no, I live here, so like I'd tell you, nothing's happened to my trees.
We
Mine
went
neither.
through an hour-long ceremony. It was meticulously arranged.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an
Right.
hour and 15 or so. It was pretty long.
And nothing occult happened.
Nothing.
I'm very disappointed.
After all that.
I'm also sad that we haven't even gotten over 666 views on it yet.
Yeah, that is sad,
We
actually.
need more
would think.
views. Share our videos
The
with
demon
your friends.
summoning, yeah,
We
but
did it.
anyways,
Spread our
tried.
empire.
yeah, our empire. So I want to continue with announcements, though, because I do want to get into the readings and a little bit of scholarship on,
Yeah.
on
A
Job.
little.
The point of our show.
Yes. Announcements, esoteric Nazism video.
Yeah, the esoteric Nazism video. I'm still working on it. I've been going over a whole bunch of mysticism books that were written around the time so that I can apply that to the Helena Blavatsky stuff that we're covering at the beginning there.
Who, by the way, is nuts.
Absolutely nuts. You'll love her. Yeah, once I'm done with that, that's kind of necessary for the first part. So
Yeah.
it's going to take a little longer than anticipated. But longer means it'll be better. It's like what Miyamoto said, right? A game that's delayed may eventually be good, but a bad game that's released on time will be bad forever.
Okay.
But it's
Yeah.
not true anymore.
I don't know.
Yeah, it
who,
is.
I don't
What
know
about
who that is,
All
but
those
okay.
games that proved that
Only
otherwise.
plebs update their games.
Wow.
Is that how that works? Okay, then.
Yep.
Remember, we
so-
have very different tastes in those things. So
Anyways, the
whatever.
Lilith video. I'm actually very close to finishing that. The only section I have to finish
Wow.
is I am, because I'm doing it chronologically, I'm just getting into the medieval stuff.
Yes.
So I'm almost done with it. I have to talk about Kabbalah and the Zohar and the alphabet of Ben Sira. That's about all I have left to talk about.
Well, the alphabet of Ben
The
Sira.
alphabet of Ben Sira. We're going to have to read that on, well, actually, speaking of announcements, we're going to be starting the second weekly show once we get to Psalms.
Yes.
And
That'll be on Fridays.
Yes.
Or Saturday. Yeah,
Fridays.
Fridays.
Yeah.
And, we still haven't gotten a time about that, have we? Did
No.
you do the poll?
no, I should, though.
You should.
Yeah, do the poll.
But I want to...
Do it real hard.
Thanks. Yes, I do. I want to discuss the alphabet of Ben Sira because, oh boy. Chris, have you read the alphabet of Ben Sira?
Once.
Once? I thought it was hysterical. What did you think?
It's one of the greatest things I've ever read in my life.
It is that good.
Yeah. It's just, there's just so much.
I love the bit about the donkeys smelling their piss.
Yeah. Then there's just so much great stuff in there.
Oh, that's what you guys were reading?
Yep.
When you were reading that crazy stuff before?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, it is nuts. I liked it too.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Discordian thing.
Discordian?
Yeah.
Principia Discordia.
Yeah, the Principia Discordia.
Oh, I've never.
A little bit.
Excellent book. An
Yeah.
Excellent book.
It is fun. It is very fun.
I haven't read that or even heard of it.
Oh, you
It's
should try it
another
on.
jump
Oh
of mayhem
dear. Oh dear.
absurdism.
Yes. One must. Yes.
Fair enough. I'm just gonna do one more announcement here.
Alright.
This one, the Point Pyramid. I have neglected to ask Jim or Chris, but I guess I can ask Chris now. If you're still interested in doing that Point Pyramid, because we got it set up. We got the board ready.
We got the.
We just got to get it scheduled.
We got the trivia
Go
questions.
for it, Chris. I'll be
written
rooting for you.
out. We got all the rules. It's it's all ready to go.
Yeah, we'd have to check up with Jim again, but
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for trying to do it. I just have a really hectic schedule right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally fair. We'll figure out something though. We can probably we'll talk more after the show if you can.
Sure.
So we got a lot of good stuff coming up. So let's hop right into Job. Now, as you may notice, today we are only doing chapters 1 through 2.
Yes.
So that's a lot shorter than we usually do. That's how we used to do it. Our first episode
On Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2.
That's
And Genesis 1:3. And so on.
Also
until
Genesis-
Genesis, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty short, but the reason for that is, well, I'm just gonna keep it short and say that it's because it wouldn't make sense to break it up any other way. But we could probably have Chris expand on that because he's our local Job guy. So if he wants to expand on that, he can.
Okay, so join me on this trip through the book of Job. We are going to begin at the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Allegedly.
So, okay, so to touch on why we're only doing chapters 1 and 2. So the book of Job is a composite work. Scholars have known this. Actually, it's been one of the most solidly agreed upon things in biblical scholarship that the book of Job is a composite work. It's been agreed on that basically since the mid 1800s. Part of the composite is that the prologue, chapters 1 and 2, and the epilogue originally were actually their own unit. Scholars, at least that's one of the theories. Nahum Sarna was one of the prominent scholars that actually argued for that in the 1950s based off Ugaritic material. And he argued that originally those two chapters would have composed a Volksbuch, or a folk book of some kind. So what ended up happening with that is a whole field of scholarship ended up actually taking up that theory, and which continues to this present day. The other theory is actually that the dialogue was composed on its own and was this completely original piece, and then the epilogue and the prologue were made as bookends to it by another scribe. I tend to myself take that view. I think that's the more likely, but there's still a huge amount of debate over it, and there's very little consensus as to what parts of the book of Job came first. There's also the speeches of Elihu, which were likely redactions from an upset scribe that wanted to get in there and just start ranting.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I read like one little piece of commentary on it from the Old Testament survey from the New Interpreter's Bible that we have. I mean, I also read the introduction, Alter's translation, but the cycles for the speeches from each person, those I read that there was an idea that each of those cycles came from separate authors or at separate dates.
Almost no one holds that view anymore.
Okay.
That was a theory for a little bit, but as scholars have looked at it more, it looks like it was all from the same author. One of the reasons that they think that is because it's all they all feature the exact same linguistic mess. So the other one that's usually agreed upon as another composite piece was actually the wisdom poem that's in the middle of it and has nothing to do with anything. You'll know it when we get to it.
Yeah.
And then there is also debate over the speeches of Yahweh. Most of the debate is over actually the second speech. The first speech, not so much, but there's debate over whether or not those were even original to the Book of Job as well.
Well, I suppose we will hit a lot of those when we get to it. But since
So if I could also ask a pre-question before you
go right ahead.
Your normal
Yes,
commentary
please.
beginning in the book. So the chapters that we divided. I mean, if this first section was kind of as you see a preface to the book, why did they decide to make it into two chapters? I mean, what was the origin of how they actually divided the chapters of the book?
The chapter system as we know it is primarily actually the result of the Catholic Church in the 1500s, who were mostly just trying to create a standard for reading and liturgy.
Which is very useful.
Yeah. As far as I know, the Hebrew Bible did not have any such division for. I don't know of any manuscripts that do have that division until closer to the modern age.
Yeah, I can't
I mean,
think.
'cause if you looked at the book of Esther you just finished, the last chapter, the 10th chapter of the book of Esther only has 3 verses in it. So if you were, I could see if you're saying these are done as sort of homilies or something that someone might recite as kind of a bite-sized chunk with perhaps some. I guess there's also probably something where there's a logical division. Where
Yeah.
we see, and so perhaps the reason why the second and third chapters are split the way they are is because there's a different tone or style, perhaps?
Yeah. Well, there is a completely different style, and so actually I do want to talk about this before we get into the reading.
Sure.
Is the language of Job. So when we're reading the book of Job, we're reading a good number of the passages that we're going to be reading are either conjecture or have to be based off of hopefully accurate translations from other groups, because the book of Job is widely regarded as the most complicated and complex book of the Bible because of its linguistic variety. It has more linguistic variety and lexical variety than any other book in the entire Hebrew Bible.
Huh.
It has hundreds and hundreds of linguistic peculiarities that are found nowhere else in any of our documentation.
Yeah, and I was
makes-
reading like some of the emphasis on certain words and phrases appear nowhere else too. Like it's just
Yes.
yeah.
You're telling me
Yes.
that I get to look forward to what's coming instead of dreading the repetition?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Ah!
very different.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so that those meaning you said 100 or so
Yeah.
files. Is that because it's a patchwork of stuff that was brought together or has been revised, or what's the?
It's actually it's almost all in the dialogue, which is all from one author, and it's there are several theories as to why it is the way it is. So the biggest feature there's 2 features that are present. There's around 80 or so known Arabic isms that are in there. Some scholars estimate it as high as 86, if I recall. And then there are hundreds and hundreds of Aramaisms. And the problem is that none of them make any lexical sense. For example, despite the fact that the book is in Hebrew, whoever was working on it decided to retain a bunch of Aramaic endings. So like the plural ending "in" is still heavily present in the book of Job, which is completely different from the Hebrew plural masculine ending, which is "im."
Yeah, and I was actually there was a bit about that in Alter's translation.
Yeah.
So, when Alter suggests that one of the reasons that could be was because like it was written during this intermediate stage of when they were switching from Hebrew to Aramaic, or
Yeah.
that was one idea. But
Yeah, that's one theory. There was in the 1930s through the 50s, there were 2 scholars that supposed that it was written in Arabic. The one that did the most work on it was Alfred Guénon, who was a French scholar and professional, one of the leading experts of the time on Quranic material. He argued that the Book of Job was originally all composed in Arabic. Virtually no one agrees with him. Also around that time, there was Dr. Pfeiffer, who argued that the Book of Job was written in Edomite. Both the Arabic and the Edomite positions also have a long history in scholarship as well. So Matthew Henry in the 1700s also thought that it was written in Arabic, and Voltaire, and it's primarily because Voltaire was a racist, but yeah, Voltaire actually thought that it was written in Edomite because, and I quote, such a work of beautiful poetry could not come from the mind of a Jew.
That is
Wow.
hilarious.
Wow.
Wow.
And that's just because of all the Arabic and Aramaic idioms. That makes it so that it's got that same poetic feel, maybe as more of a Quran work.
Yeah.
Weird.
And the Book of Job has it been always been part of the canon, or has it been?
Yes, the Book of Job has been almost universally always agreed upon as being in the canon. Currently, the two leading hypotheses for its written origin, just real quick, Hartley, in his in my opinion, very influential commentary, argues that it was in a Hebrew Aramaic Creole. There are those that suppose that it was just written in Hebrew that was inspired by Aramaic, like Robert Alter. And then there's three. The third one, and there's still a school that holds to it, are basically working off of the work of Tur Sinai. And Tur Sinai actually argued that it was all written in Aramaic, and then a hodgepodge translator went through, and basically because Hebrew and Aramaic are similar to people that know them, he only translated words that he thought would have to be translated into Hebrew. And then later scribes, seeing this hodgepodge, tried correcting it more, which made the whole mess even worse.
Man, I
And
love
that might
scribal
explain
tradition.
all the terms and phrases. By the way, when was the Book of Job first composed, or the first parts of it composed?
Oh, we're
was-
gonna be here for a while. Okay.
All right.
so-
I better check something in the back room then.
That's why we only have 2 chapters, so we can get this useful commentary.
Yeah. Okay. So that is one of the most highly debated subjects in scholarship. There is absolutely no consensus on when it was written. The only thing that they're sure is that it was written after Proto-Isaiah.
Okay.
And the reason is because we're pretty sure that the Book of Job had some reliance on Proto-Isaiah. That was established back in like the 1920s. However, aside from that, there's basically no other consensus on a date. There are scholars who have actually rejected the reliance it has on Isaiah and have dated it actually to the 11th century, to the time of Solomon.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But the vast majority of them will date it 7th century or later, BC. Most of them date it to around the Babylonian exile. Tur Sinai argued on the basis of the Aramaic that it had to be around the Babylonian exile. Hartley argues that it was probably in the 7th century or so, and a number of other scholars also date it to around 8th or 7th century. But basically, there's also a small camp that argues it's inspired by Greek philosophy because of the structure of it. And so that small camp actually argues that it dates all as late as the 2nd century BC.
Well, I've read a lot of Greek philosophy, so maybe I'll notice some of that, but
So
maybe not.
anyway, and I say, in order for it to have been the oldest book in the Bible, when would it have been written? Before?
Prior to the 8th century, I think.
Yeah, it'd have to be prior. It'd have to be prior to the 8th century, and if we wanted to argue that it predates the oldest parts of the Bible, it'd have to be before Hebrew and Aramaic even existed.
Well, hot damn.
Because
Tough
the earliest parts of the Hebrew Bible, like the Song of the Sea, could date as far back as 1100 BC.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd have to be even older than that, which would make it extremely specious for the languages that it seems to have been written in, because if it was written in Hebrew, it doesn't show the signs of being written in that old archaic Hebrew, though there are possibly some indications, like the absence of matres lectionis in it, which are basically those are consonants that are used as vowels, basically. And Shun Leong So recently did a survey where he, based off of David Noll Friedman's work on the orthography of Job, and where he argued that the Book of Job likely did not have all the matres lectionis that it does now, and those were added in by later scribes to help with reading it. But then there's a debate over, well, does the absence of matres lectionis help us date the Book of Job? Because it could just be that the author who was purposely writing in an archaic form, we call archaizing.
Right, yeah.
So
that has happened. We have, a
Yeah.
good amount of manuscript evidence for that.
yeah. So at this point, it's the date of the Book of Job. Where the vast majority of scholars are certain it's not the oldest book of the Bible. It has reliance on other books, but aside from that, trying to get a precise date is virtually impossible.
But probably the 7th century, before the Christian era, is a likely or really possible.
Yeah, that's what I typically actually go with 7th or 6th century. I tend to lead more 6th century, but one of the biggest problems is there's not enough internal evidence to actually point to any precise date, despite what Alfred Galal wanted to argue. Galal wanted to argue that based off of the mentionings of Timnah, or not Timnah, Teman, and Eliphaz the Temanite, as we'll see, and the caravans and stuff like that, that they must be dating from the 6th century when the Babylonians invaded Arabia. And it's all super specious in my opinion. But
Interesting. Well, thank you very much. And I guess if just as a warning, I have a question on the first verse. So
That is totally fine. That's why we're here, and that is also why Chris is on.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'd probably be done already.
excellent commentary, and thank you very much, Chris.
So let's just announce the table. I have the one true version of the Bible, the King James Version.
Of course. I have the English Standard Version, and we also have Robert Alter's translation of the Hebrew Bible with commentary.
And the second best version of the Bible, the New King James Version, and the Holy Scriptures according to some Jews.
Yes. We also have the Old Testament Survey from the New Interpreter's Bible and the Oxford Companion to the Bible.
We also have
This doesn't matter anymore.
that Esther book.
Yeah,
Why is it here?
I don't know. I forgot to take it off the table. I forgot to take it home. But this is still a good book. This is still a really good commentary on Esther from Anthony Tomasino. So it's sitting there.
And as is tradition, the English Standard Version has an introduction at the beginning of every new book.
Yes.
So maybe we can get some fact checking in there on the introduction.
By the
they
way, I will be following along on the new American Standard Bible.
What Bible?
I will be using the Oxford Annotated NRSV. This is the 5th edition for those who have it.
Excellent.
Great. All right, so here is the introduction from the ESV. Considered both a theological and literary masterpiece, the Book of Job is an honest portrayal of God allowing a good man to suffer. The test of Job's faith, allowed by God in response to a challenge from Satan, revealed God's loving sovereignty and the supremacy of divine wisdom over human wisdom, personified by Job's friends. Believing that God is good despite the apparent evidence to the contrary, Job rested in faith alone. In the depths of agony, he could still proclaim, I know that my Redeemer lives. In the end, God silenced all discussion with the truth that he alone is wise. Yet he vindicated Job's trust in him, proving that genuine faith cannot be destroyed. The unknown author was probably an Israelite, writing sometime between 1500 and 500 BCE. Now, this is also something I was reading in Alter's version. So if you got some more stuff on this, Chris, that'd be great. But he was saying that it lacked anything that was like specifically Israelite.
Yeah, that is true. Most scholars have. That's actually one of the reasons why scholars have debated on who the where it originated, because it actually. The Book of Job makes no mention of the covenant of Moses, makes no mention of the covenant of the patriarchs, makes no mention of any identifiable figures outside of the Book of Job. The only thing we can do to link it with other books of the Bible is that one specific mention in Ezekiel 14:14, where it mentions Job, Noah, and Dan-el. And it's not Daniel, S.J., it's Dan-el. There is no Yod.
Yeah, and Dan-el is from the Ugaritic. I forget which.
Yes.
Yeah. It's from
Epic of Akkad. It's from the Epic of Akkad. He looks like he was a Canaanite folk hero.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And the use of so you say the use of how it refers to God or so forth, is that similar to other books of the Bible, or is that different?
Actually, the way that the Book of Job refers to God is completely inconsistent.
Hooray!
So the prologue and the epilogue will use the divine name Yahweh. The divine name is only used in the dialogue once, and I am personally pretty sure it's an interpolation. He is only ever referred to with El names throughout the rest of the Book of Job, and it has the highest number of occurrences of the name El Shaddai, if I remember correctly.
Huh. That's something that doesn't come up too much in the rest of the Bible. It does come up, but it's not like the most common thing in the world.
Yeah,
All right.
and as we get through this, also there's a lot of other things that are really peculiar about the Job, like the high number of hypostases of Canaanite religion that's still left in there. A large number of them, and actually we'll see some right here in the first chapter.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
I think we can definitely get the reading started. We
All
got
right.
42 minutes in.
Wow, what an intro to
I love this show.
I'll get us started on chapter 1 of the book of Job from the King James Version of the Bible. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil.
So, question.
Yes.
Uz, the land of Uz. Where is it? What's that?
No one knows. I have documented 32 different arguments as to where the land of Uz lies.
I have
there's
one
a
note.
reference to it I know there's a reference to Uz in Jeremiah.
Yep, there's a reference in Jeremiah. There's a reference in Lamentations.
Yes.
There's a reference to it in the War Scroll and the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's a reference to it in the Book of Jubilees, and there's also a reference to Uz. Actually, I think there are 2 references to Uz in the Book of Genesis, and all of them give completely different ideas for location. So
And the best guess of where it is we're talking about is
somewhere that's not Israel.
Wow, amazing.
So there was a
That
man
was
from
helpful.
somewhere.
A man from.
thank you.
Yeah.
There are so some of them put it in between the Tigris and Euphrates. Some say that it's just beyond the Euphrates. So for all we know, that means that it could be from the north end to the south of the east.
Right.
And then there's some that would place it around Damascus. Then there's others that place it in Arabia.
I know Alter from this. He's got a little note on Uz. It says many scholars have located this land in Edom, across the Jordan from the land of Israel.
Yep.
But it is really
Transferred.
It's really a never land somewhere to the east, as befits the fable and the universalizing thrust of the whole book. In this regard, the fact that Utz is Utz in Hebrew means counsel or advice invites one to construe this as the land of counsel.
Yeah, even that I find a little bit debatable, but another problem is also the location of all of Job's friends trying to triangulate where he could have been, because there's Eliphaz the Temanite, who is possibly Edomite in origin if we take the name Teman to reference an Edomite clan of Taman. Then there's Bildad, who's the Shuhite, if I remember correctly, and he's from some random place in Arabia. And then there's Zophar, the Namathite, or whatever his name is, and Nama is possibly around Canaan. So trying to triangulate something based off of where his friends were makes no sense either.
Right. I think maybe Uz is like
Springfield.
maybe it's like Springfield, or it's like Libertalia.
Libertalia.
Actually,
Is it maybe it's not a specific land? It's like the far lands or the Far East as a generic thing, as opposed to there's a city.
yeah, well, I mean, that's also contested. So
Okay.
Alfred Galom actually argued on the basis of an Arabian deity named Uz that it had to be around in Arabia, and he actually tried giving an actual coordinate for it in his work. His methods are really specious, though.
Quite the endeavor.
But and actually, the Septuagint has its own theory. The Septuagint actually has a complete ending addition to the Book of Job that gives a genealogy for Job, and also links him to other characters in the Bible. It specifically links him to Jobab in the Book of Genesis, who was one of the descendants of Esau.
Esau, that's
So
no good.
Yeah.
So the book of Job literally tries to, or the Septuagint version of Job literally tries to argue that he was an Edomite king.
Wow. Well then.
Then I guess I'll get into verse 2.
Yeah, so what we know so far is that Job is from a place that we don't even know existed. Go
Yes.
ahead.
One of
But it
those
probably did,
mythical
but
lands.
it could be literary reference as opposed to a specific reference, but that's debated.
I'm just going to say that I'm of the opinion that half the names in the book of Job are just made up just to make it sound foreign.
That works. That works.
Okay, hashtag blame the Bible.
Yes. All right, let's continue.
Yes. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. He has 10 kids. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-asses and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. So
my thing that said very many servants. So he was a slaveholder.
So that might
Maybe.
be in line with that royalty idea. At least he's very wealthy.
Good. You best be.
And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And so they feast like one a day? Like, what does it mean
Well,
by
big
everyone
meal.
his day? Is that like what? Birthdays? Or what?
Dude, I don't know, man.
No, the idea is basically that the children of Job just like to party a lot.
Okay.
Hey, I
And so
feel
let's
that.
party and invite our sisters into the party, okay?
And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned, and cursed God in their hearts." Thus did Job continually. So I guess it doesn't matter how many livestock he has; they're all gonna be killed.
Yeah, he's gonna do it anyway.
Probably knew his kids, and he said his kids are partying multiple days. They probably did something that he needs to atone for, so he's going to sacrifice on their behalf.
Well, if there's 7 of them and they party for 7 days in a row, then at least one of those days is during the Sabbath, right?
Oh.
Yeah. That is what that would mean.
Is that against the Sabbath
No.
to party?
Maybe
Not at all.
maybe he had a religious party.
Depends on if you count it as work.
No.
If your servers set it up ahead of time so you don't have to do any work, you just sat there and enjoyed
Yeah.
and didn't.
Well, yeah, they have servants, and their servants can go ahead and do whatever they want.
So I have a note here actually from Alter about this last verse that we just read about cursing God. The Alter says that the Hebrew says euphemistically, blessed God. Many think this is a scribal substitution to avoid a blasphemous phrase, though it is possible that the euphemism was actually used in speech. The same usage occurs in the adversary's words in verse 11.
Yeah.
Okay. And now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them.
So the sons of God, what are they talking about there?
The phrase that's in the Hebrew it is Bnei Elohim, which means literally the sons of God, and it's like that phrase is cognate with a Canaanite term that occurs frequently, which is attributed to El. It's Bnei Elim, which is literally just the sons of El. The name there is not plural; it's enclitic. So it actually it indicates a genitive state.
So, but are they finding that God has a family and
Yeah,
and that sort of thing?
It's basically the idea that God has this kind of divine family in a way, which was a common motif in the ancient Near East.
Yeah, and to expand on that, there's a good chapter or about that in Mark S. Smith's Origins of Biblical Monotheism.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and also worth checking out as well would be Rank Among the Canaanite Gods by Lechoyu.
You want to say that in English?
That's his last name. It's French.
Ah, Pshaw.
Anyway, very good. All right. So I'm just curious about that sons of God. So would Jesus have been amongst those critters, or?
Not in the same way.
That's a whole can of worms. We'll save that when we get to the New Testament.
Yeah.
But actually, the one that's really worth noting here is Hasatan, the Satan.
Yeah.
When they translate just translate it as Satan, that's not right. That's incorrect. It's the Satan. Hasatan.
It's a title.
And it's because it's a title, and it's specifically that is a god whose job is to act as basically the highest deity's divine prosecutor. In Psalm 82, Yahweh is the divine prosecutor of El, and in the book of Isaiah, there's actually an occurrence where God is a prosecutor and heaven and earth are the high judges. And then there are other such occasions throughout other ancient Near Eastern literature as well. So in this case, what we have here is that Yahweh is the highest God, and Hasatan is his divine prosecutor, and the divine prosecutor only actually does the high God's bidding. So what we're actually going to find out here is not actually that Hasatan is against God or that they're even gambling with each other. It's actually that he's basically acting as God's eyes and ears on earth. He's basically a spy.
Yeah, I was reading that a little bit too. Like, he's the guy that's I think it says somewhere that he is like literally walking around on Earth and
Huh.
just looking for all those sinners.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord, and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So,
There it is.
there it is. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil?
So perfect. I mean, is God really saying that Job is perfect, or is that a literary sort of?
Well, it'd be more like
very
blameless.
The,
I think
the
it'd be
idea
more like
is that that's how God perceives Job. And so he's curious as to whether or not Job is actually this perfect man, this perfect being.
Okay.
Then Satan answered the Lord, and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold,
Behold!
Behold.
Wow. There it is, guys.
all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their elder brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job, and said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans fell upon them.
Who are the Sabaeans?
Okay, so here's where a huge thing is going to occur. That's also a debate in scholarship of Job.
Right.
The Sabaeans are traditionally identified with a group of people that were South Old Arabic tribes and people in Arabia. So that's one of the things that Alfred Galom tried to use to attempt to argue that the Book of Job was Arabic in origin. It was because that figure, that group that it mentions right there, is strangely Arabic. The problem is
My book refers to Sabaeans' alternate name as Sheba.
yeah, which that comes from, if I remember correctly, the Queen of Sheba thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so interpreters, I'm guessing, probably view that there was a relationship between the Queen of Sheba
Yes.
and this group.
Right, but and the Queen of Sheba is traditionally identified as being Arabian as well. So there's a huge that's a huge manner of debate, but there's also a problem of, well, this book could have actually still been written like around in Israel or somewhere, and they could have just they could have just known about the Sabaeans, because we do know there were trade routes between those two people.
Sure.
Yes.
And we know the Sabaeans were around all the way back to like the 9th century BCE as well. We have evidence of that.
That would be interesting, because if someone were to take this at face value, wouldn't that be evidence that it would not go back further than the 9th century BCE?
Yeah,
Yeah,
possibly. It depends on how long that term was in use as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then we're reading a section that said that was tacked on, people believe, afterwards. So
Yeah, there's a group of scholarship that believes a prologue and epilogue were tacked on afterwards, but then there's also a group, which is the Volksbuch group, that argue that the prologue and epilogue are actually the oldest portion of the Book of Job, and the dialogue was tacked on later. No one knows.
All right. And the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet
So-
speaking.
So hold on. This was this was just some random messenger to Job, but he's talking to. Oh, is he talking to Job? Yeah, it looks like he's talking to Job. Okay, never
he's
mind.
talking to Job.
Yeah.
And he's just like, they're all dead. Everybody's dead. While he
Or
was
taken.
yet speaking, there
And
came.
I guess he lost all of his stuff.
There came also another, I guess they're not all dead, and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them.
Oh,
and
wow.
I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Okay. So a lot of stuff's already happening here.
That's escalated quickly.
Yeah.
So are you referring to like lightning, or was this supposed to be like a meteor? What's the calamity here?
It's
God.
The fire from heaven is usually a euphemism for lightning.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Altar also has lightning here. This is probably a reference to lightning. God, Elohim, might be merely an intensifier. That is fearsome fire. So, very powerful lightning,
Is it Elohim here?
apparently.
Oh, that's interesting. So, like one person survived from each of these things?
Yes.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Wow.
So here's another note on the Chaldeans.
Yeah.
The Chaldeans are typically identified with the Babylonians in a lot of ancient literature. Here's the problem, is that so this is again how Alfred Galom tried to argue for his dating of the Job. He argued that the mention of the Chaldeans and the Sabaeans in the same group, and the fact that Job might be around Arabia, is evident. It specifically means that it had to post-date the reign of Nabonidus, because Nabonidus invaded Arabia.
Oh,
he's
okay. Yeah, that's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's like retro, like you're putting your assumptions.
Retconning?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I call it retroactive reading.
Okay.
That's a good term.
So basically what we have here is Chaldeans, Sabaeans, this mysterious land of Uz, and later on there will be mentions of Eliphaz, the Temanite, and the mention of Taman itself and a few other things. And Alfred Galom tried to argue on the basis of all these things that the Book of Job must have been written in Arabic around Arabia, and it had to be after the reign of Nabonidus.
Maybe it's the inane amount of hours that I've spent doing this show, but this is perhaps the most interesting it has been. Just flat up, because nothing has talked like this before.
Yeah, it's
You're
very
right.
good.
Yeah, no, you're correct in all your statements that this is totally different. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
And it's gonna get weirder once we get to chapter 3, because it just starts. It's just a lot of talking.
Jeez, we're like an hour and 3 minutes in, and
Yeah.
I just feel like we're not going to be able to even scrape the surface of
All
how
right.
nuts
So
this
okay.
is
So
comparatively.
that had 3 people come and say, "Hey, bad news," and I escaped, and everyone else is dead or captured.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, while
hold
he
on,
was
hold on,
yet
just-
speaking.
Just hold on, just so we're clear. If this was me, if I was Job, I'd be like, I bet you guys did this,
Yeah.
and then you're just blaming it on something else. Alright, go on.
Hashtag blame the Bible.
So if you were Job, it would be literally shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, and behold,
Behold!
Behold.
there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men and their dead, and I only am escaped to tell thee.
Wait, hold on. Who is this?
Just another guy.
Just some guy. He wasn't in this house?
Apparently he was.
Maybe
he
he was outside
only
taking a whiz.
escaped.
But the only people that are said to be in this house are the brothers and sisters.
Oh, they were
Sons and daughters.
partying. They probably
also
had
their
servants.
servants and all
I
their
guess,
other
yeah, that's fair.
concubines and thingies like that. So
Yeah.
I always keep an unnumbered group of unnamed servants around in case I need them.
Fair enough.
Hey, it's good policy. Well, this has to be very stressful for him right now. All these things just happened at
No
once.
shit, Sherlock.
so verse 20.
Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither.
What the hell is going
That
on?
is not what happens when you die.
He's gonna crawl back in and die.
Yeah. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly.
So that verse, by the way, that little poem thing is used often in some Christian, funeral stuff.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately for them,
when bad things happen, it's not God's fault. When good things happen, it's 'cause God.
but God said in Isaiah that He creates
Well,
evil.
actually, in here it literally says. He's literally saying that bad things happen because of God. Lord gives and the Lord taketh away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing 'cause God did it.
Yeah.
Yes, because reasons.
Yeah.
Reason.
Wow. Well, that's
it's
the end
worth
of
noting
chapter
that
1.
nowhere that the Hebrew Bible does not have this conception of Yahweh as benevolent.
Yeah.
Nowhere is it like, yeah, he's just completely always 100% a good person.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's really not. And the thing is, if you read it too, you should probably figure out that that's not good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is this the most realistic interpretation of God yet?
So
Just wait till we get to when we finally get into the dialogue, because Job comes within a hair's breadth of blasphemy.
Ooh, spooky.
but so all this chapter basically said is Job is a wealthy person, and then God's foil sort of says, yeah, but because you treat him nicely, he says nice things about you. So all of a sudden all this stuff happens, and Job says, blessed be the name of the Lord, and yeah, stuff happens, but thanks God.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, that is the end of chapter 1. Do you guys hear something?
I hear a
No.
mysterious noise
I don't
coming
wanna
from
do it.
out in the distance.
Why are you mean to me?
Whatever
Could it
could
be
it
Job?
be? I have never heard such
I
a
don't
thing
know.
before in my life.
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
Wait for it. Wow. Jesus, you're
Wow.
great. Thank you for always being here for us. Amazing.
Yeah.
Love
And
you,
thank you for not blowing
Jay-Z.
down the four corners of the houses and causing it to collapse on those fine people there in Milwaukee.
No, wait.
Let's hope not.
Should we be thanking him for that or cursing him for that?
You be the judge.
You decide.
We are going to.
Historically, God has gotten a kick out of killing Jews. So
Yeah, he really has. Especially in the way he justifies it. It's like, you didn't make me 100% happy, so I'm gonna slaughter you.
And your family.
Well, it's all those not taking down the things in high places.
The high
bits.
places, yeah.
That's. I mean, if
Ultimate
they just took care of the high places, things would have been different. But
I
no,
keep
they didn't,
saying
so-
that.
And even when the high places were taken care of, it was too late.
Okay.
Well, because of
I'm
the
just gonna have
previous
to-
high places.
I'm just gonna have to say though, Lawrence, like I can't completely defend your people in this because you guys weren't exactly that smart either. You guys get saved from Egypt. He splits the Red Sea, sends a fireball around to stop the armies of the pharaohs, and then he drowns the army of the pharaoh to keep you guys out of Egypt. And then you guys turn around and make a golden calf and start worshiping another god.
Well, you know what?
Yeah,
The
which
golden
by-
calf looked way better anyways.
Yeah. By the way, there's a very nice. If you become a Patreon, there's a very nice thing you can watch on the scholarship, the Golden Calf, that was done by yours truly. So
Oh yeah, and Chris also wants me to. He actually bought a book for us.
Oh.
And it's got like some stuff in the golden calf he wants me to read about. I haven't gotten into that yet. I'm finishing up the Lilith stuff first.
Which book is it?
Did you get the book?
I did get the book, so thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
thank you.
For those wondering, it is R. Scott Calmer's it's the struggle of Yahweh and El for Hosea's Israel, which is an extremely interesting book, and it actually counters what has previously been the consensus in scholarship that there are no polemics against the god El in the Hebrew Bible. He actually argues that the golden calf is actually a polemic against El.
I mean, I don't even remember saying anything specifically about polemics against Al.
Wow.
About Al specifically. But either way, we can hop right into
The second chapter.
chapter 2. Remember to drop a like, guys. This is a great episode. I
Yeah.
know it's only been one chapter, but this is a great episode.
Give us a like and a comment. Well, I suppose you've been commenting, but subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
And Patreon. And
Share it around, Patreon,
all that
all
stuff.
the shilling stuff. We'll get to
share
that later.
our streams with your friends, family, neighbors, estranged ex-family members.
Ex-family members.
Yeah, like your
Tax collectors,
ex-wife.
publicans.
Yeah, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Greens, all of them. We want them all.
Try feeding it directly down into the brains of your of the deceased as well. Just go to the graveyard.
Yeah,
you
bring
know,
these-
stick some wires down in there.
Attend some Antifa
Chris, are you
meetings and
doing a
hand out
crazy
things
one?
with
I always
links
do the
to our
crazy one.
broadcast.
Trust me, it's not illegal if you don't kick. It's only illegal if you get caught.
And pipe it into an aquarium with fish.
Yes. Oh yeah. That's a good one too. Specifically, try and go to your local zoo and do that, like your local sea aquarium. Best results.
And I mean, if you ever visit Ken Ham's place or anything, flyers are nice.
Kent Hovind.
I think yours is dead.
Yeah.
Someone's is
yes.
dead.
Yes.
It
Okay, we
ain't
should probably
me.
get on chapter 2
Well,
now.
you don't know. You wouldn't know.
Well, it ain't on my end, Chris.
That's not what we're saying.
Well, that's what
I
I'm
don't know
saying.
exactly who can't be heard right now.
It's probably
But-
you.
Okay, we're getting it fixed.
It's someone.
Testing.
No, there's only mics. Don't worry about it. Your
Yeah.
guests,
Okay, so we're good now.
your guests are great.
Okay. Yeah, because we got like separate
Yep.
mics, and we need
Yep.
to.
They're wireless.
Yeah.
They're double wireless.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have like billions of batteries.
Yes.
Billions.
Billions of batteries.
They eat through them.
Yep.
Well, I got
You know, Landon,
rechargeable ones now.
with all that scientific knowledge you have, could you hook us up with a better battery?
Yes, I highly recommend lithium disulfide batteries.
Alrighty.
They're
That's-
even good
that's a
down
good
to
recommendation.
-50, right?
Excellent.
And they last for huge amount of time. We've got stuff that's that started off at year 2000. It's been still going. So
Yeah, I'm going to recommend Pyramid batteries myself.
Oh my god.
anyway, so chapter 2.
Yes, chapter 2. I'll hop right into that.
Incredible. Please do.
Yes. And here you go, Ruben. Here's altars.
Ah, finally,
Yes.
I can read something that isn't the King James version of the Bible.
You mean the best version of
Oh
the
yeah,
Bible?
the best version of the Bible. You know, there weren't even any giants or unicorns in this section.
Oh, I know. What a shame. So, again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come?" Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from
But
walking."
doesn't God know everything? So why he's asking a question he already knows?
Yeah, God is not presented as omniscient in this book.
He is not presented as omniscient in Genesis either.
I don't think
He's presented.
No.
He's
as-
presented as omniscient in the additions to Esther.
Well, yeah.
Here's an unpopular opinion to Christians. God's never presented as any omni trait in the Bible.
Yeah, he's really not.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's just a god.
We've discussed omni-taste. We think God can taste everything.
That's and he likes the
Smells.
Yeah, the smells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He likes the smell
Oh,
of
yeah.
burning animals.
So
Yeah.
he can sense like taste and smell anywhere.
Hold on. Do you think God didn't like bacon then?
Ooh. What kind of an asshole wouldn't like the smell of bacon?
I don't like bacon.
Oh, you're a piece of shit.
Oh,
You're not the Chris that I knew anymore.
You know,
You're some other
apparently
Chris.
you're a more godly man than I thought.
I think you mean depart from me, for I never knew ye.
Well, just for the record, while I'm a pescatarian, I do like meat. I just can't eat it. So
Oh.
there you go.
Fair enough. Oh, I could really go for any food right now. But anyways, I'm gonna.
I used to be vegetarian, but I can't anymore because I have to have meat. Anemia.
So you
yeah,
call me
yeah,
a
you need
vegetarian
that.
likes meat but can't have it. Anyway, so verse 2.
Yes. That was like what, halfway through it? Yeah. Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it." And the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? That there is
Again?
none like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil? He still holds fast his integrity, although you incited me against him to destroy him without reason." Here's the weird thing that I'm noticing. So here in this chapter, it said that God was the one doing things. Wasn't it Satan the one doing things before?
No.
No.
Look back at the fireball, the fire of the Lord.
Oh,
of
yeah.
God.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And like wind and shit.
Yeah, Satan
couldn't
still
that-
hasn't done anything specifically bad.
Wouldn't that could that come from a son of God?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, like there were winds, there was thunder, there was 2 separate attacks in the same general vicinity, I assume. From
Also, has anyone noticed the imagery that's being used of God's power? It's all storm imagery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or a volcano.
No.
Yeah, the
No,
volcano
it-
storm.
Oh my. Okay, I'm gonna kill whoever said that that is volcano
I'm
imagery.
Well, Chris said it.
It's
Okay, just so we're
It's that
clear.
Chris.
Just so we're clear.
He's trolling you, or I am, I should say.
I'm gonna kill.
Well,
I'm gonna murder.
you don't like being trolled, do you?
No.
Well,
And it's
that's
only-
too bad.
And trust me when I say I live by the motto: it's only illegal if you get caught.
all right.
Okay. Anyways, so God, did some stuff, and Satan's, now he's like, showing Satan, "Hey, this dude still worships me. You see that?" Anyways, then Satan answered the Lord and said, "Skin for skin. All that a man has he will give for his life. But stretch out your hand and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold!"
Behold!
Behold.
Behold.
He is in your hand. Only spare his life. So wait, hold on. Is he... So Satan suggested that God do the bad thing, but then God's like, no, you do the bad thing.
Yes, and in this case, Satan is the one that does the bad thing, as you'll see.
Okay.
Oh no.
So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with loathsome sores from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took a piece of broken pottery with which to scrape himself while he sat in the ashes. Then his wife said to him, "Do you still hold fast your integrity?" Yeah, I'm sure his wife said that. I'm fucking sure his wife said that. Her husband's dying, and she's like, "But you still believe in God, right?"
Yeah, this burning rash thing. It says the Hebrew shehin, or shehin, I don't know, derives from a root that means hot, and is the same term used in Exodus for the fifth plague. Attempts at a precise medical diagnosis are pointless. The essential idea is that a burning rash covers the entire body from the soles of the feet to the head, and would be agonizing and disfiguring.
I am sure it would be. And I didn't finish the actual verse here.
Yeah.
After asking if he still holds fast his integrity, she also tells Job, "Curse God and die." What a wonderful woman.
She's a very
Oh my
loving
God,
wife.
Chris, hold on. You are talking way too close to the mic there.
Yeah.
Is this one of the things where it's like Eve, tempting Adam, the lady coming in and spreading temptation, evil? Is this that same kind of meme that you saw in Genesis?
I don't think so.
There is a very common motif for women to be portrayed as the negative side of the
Samson,
relationship in the
Delilah, that sort
Bible.
of stuff. Yeah.
That is a common theme.
I'm going to get into that a lot in the Lilith video.
Okay.
It's pretty much, like, the development is, like, where Lilith starts out as, like, a class of demons. It eventually transforms into pretty much what I can gather, just bad women. Like the concept, I even say that Lilith has become the platonic form of a bad woman.
Huh.
Yep. The capital L Lilith.
Yeah. Well, it's all capital anyways, it's the name. But anyways.
Double capital.
Wow, 20 capitals, add them all.
Like when you have the calligraphy at the beginning of a chapter.
But he said to her, "You speak as one of the foolish women would speak.
Foolish woman!
Shall we receive good from God, and shall we not receive evil? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips." Good for Job, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, they came each from his own place: Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. They made an appointment together to come to show him sympathy and comfort him. And
So
what's up?
So we have 3 places that we're talking about.
Yes.
Tell me about those places.
Nama is typically identified as with a city in Canaan that called Nama. So the Naamathite is a Canaanite. Then we have the Shuhite. No one knows where on earth that is. Some have guessed Arabia. And then we have the Temanite, Eliphaz, who is, and there's debate over that, but these typically they take Teman as referencing the tribe of Teman, which would have then identified him as an Edomite in the Transjordan. So these locations that his friends come from do nothing to help us triangulate where Job is.
And so they're far apart. So it isn't like they got on the internet and did a SMS group chat and said, "Hey, let's go and talk to Job." There had to be some time where they would have heard about this, news would have spread, and then they had to have a conversation amongst themselves and say, hey, let's go and because they say make an appointment, assuming they all kind of agreed, let's go and talk to Job.
Yeah, it's so let's just say the Book of Job doesn't care about geography at all.
All right. And you know, the interesting thing about Nama was that is also a name of a demon in, I think it's the Zohar.
Is it?
It might be just like in some other Kabbalistic works, but Lilith is said to go like traveling with another demoness named Nama. So I'm wondering if that's related. But anyways.
Well, the Zohar is like a medieval
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
probably like took a reference from somewhere.
Sure. I mean, I have to look into that again because that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting for late exegetical works and
Yeah.
discussion of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the friends are all coming together. And when they saw him from a distance, they did not recognize him. And they raised their voices and wept. And they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads towards heaven. He just said that they didn't recognize him.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the
Who's
guy
that?
now.
I'm sad about it.
Yeah.
The idea is that they just initially didn't
No,
recognize him.
I get that, but
Or they were shocked at his appearance.
Yeah.
I get that, but it doesn't say that. So,
Yeah. Noah, the problem of trying to translate things literally.
and they sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great.
You know, at least they're nice friends.
Yeah, they didn't.
Just until we turn the page and go to the next chapter.
They're shocked at his appearance. They hardly recognize him. And then they sit down and they say nothing for 7 days and 7 nights.
Yeah, they basically take part in basically silent mourning ritual with him.
It says here,
Is it an
verse
unplanned
12,
7-day ritual of silence?
that they toss dust on their heads toward the heavens. It says here that, like the rending of garments, it's a gesture of mourning. The Septuagint lacks toward the heavens, perhaps because the Greek translators considered it superfluous. Why would that be?
Okay, so there's a huge number of problems with the Septuagint. The Septuagint is missing hundreds of words and phrases from the Book of Job. Lots of them can be attributed to the fact that the Book of Job is so difficult to translate. And then other times where they have the passage, they paraphrase it.
As is tradition.
Great.
The Book of Job basically reads more like a Targum than it reads like or the Septuagint. It reads more like a Targum than it actually reads like a translation.
But this is supposed to be the literal word of God. So how could that be?
Yeah, but that's the Septuagint.
Yeah, that was that one time that God had bad, connection. There was interference.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
you were
I
only
had to-
getting every other word. It was cutting in and out. I just wrote it down.
Yeah,
But that was God's word.
he just got the Greek parts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now,
I can see why we only did 2 chapters, because there's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Also worth noting, just a few side notes people might find interesting. So we have cognates of the name Job found in other ancient Near Eastern literature.
Okay.
We have a very similar name mentioned in one of the Amarna letters. And we also have the direct Arabic cognate found in an Arabic inscription in South Arabia. So that's also another reason why Alfred Galam tried to identify Job with Arabia. But for those interested, you can pick up like these compendiums of inscriptions. I have here the Corpus of South Arabian Inscriptions 1 through 3, which is Katabonic, Marginal Katabonic, and Oswanite
Awesome.
inscriptions.
There's a niche for you.
So would Job be a common name in the region?
Potentially. It's also hard to know because we don't even know what the name Job means.
You know, it's like a normal Joe, but with a buh.
Are we sure of its pronunciation?
It's technically we should be pronouncing it Eov.
Well, then I'm wrong. Never mind.
Yo.
Well, Job is
Yo.
better.
It's Eov. Eov.
Eov.
Eov.
Yeah.
Eov.
Was it
Eov.
start with a yod? Or
Yeah, it starts with a yod.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
3 beholds today, folks.
Three
Three
beholds in
That's
2
right.
chapters.
Much better rate than usual. We've had some really bad misses in the Esthers, and we've had some really bad misses in Chronicles. It's nice to see some beholds.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
I miss the beholds.
For those curious who want to get into it, I can also just recommend some commentaries and stuff on Job.
Yes,
'Cause I
please.
got a bunch here. So, I would recommend Robert Alter's translation and commentary. He has one. You can either get his full commentary on the Old Testament, or you can get his Wisdom Books commentary set. The commentaries themselves are pretty simplistic. They're not
Yeah.
super technical.
Yeah, this is
if
like,
you want-
since this has the translation and the commentary, like it's very, it's very summarized, all the commentary in here.
Yes.
Yeah, the best technical works on the Book of Job are going to be these 5 right here. Let me grab the other one.
These 5.
So, yeah, there's Robert Gordis's commentary and translation, which is pretty decent. It tends to be on the more conservative side of a number of things. And I'm missing. I was forgetting. There are 3 commentaries that have come out in the last 5 years that are worth checking out as well. I could send them as a link. I can't remember who all did them. I think John Gray did one though. But then there's Torsenai's, which is my favorite. I am in the Aramaic origin of Job school of thought myself. I am in the minority on that. There's the 3-volume set from the World Biblical Commentary series. It's extremely good, extremely comprehensive. There's like over 2 or 3,000 pages on Job alone in that commentary series.
You know what's really weird? I was looking for, like, I know you recommended some commentaries. I was looking through, like, pretty recognizable commentary series. Like, I checked Hermenia. It's not in that series.
No, Hermenia has not finished its commentary yet on Job. It's also not finished its commentary on Deuteronomy either.
Yeah, it's also not. There's not a Revelations one, or Revelation. That's not even part. They added like a different commentary onto like the end and just called it part of the series. I think. I don't even know.
Yeah. They just adopted another commentary into the series.
Yeah.
That's lazy as fuck. Get your shit done.
I mean, hey, it's a good commentary, but
Yeah.
Hermenia is really good. But I didn't see what you just now recommended, which is really weird because that's a pretty big name in biblical commentaries.
Yeah, no. The 2 that actually I suggest the absolute most, and partially out of bias, but Norman Habel's Book of Job with the Old Testament Library series, which is an excellent edition and well worth your time. And then the other one that I think is probably one of the best commentaries on the market, which is Marvin Pope's commentary on Job. And make sure if you get it that you get the 3rd revised edition, because he updated his edition of his commentary on Job 3 or 4 times with new information that was coming out, especially after some of the Dead Sea Scrolls were released on Job as well to update his info. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with this. Whoops. This much shorter edition, as you can, of his commentary. As you can tell, there's a huge size difference.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And also fun for context of Job, there's a series by Stephen Vicio, which is Job in the ancient world, Job in the medieval world, and Job in the modern world. All worth looking at.
Well, excellent. Maybe Lawrence will pick up some of those.
I'll probably pick up like one or two, yeah. I mean, I have to anyways. But anyways, that
So
is...
I have one other sort of general Job question.
That is great.
With
Go
regards to art. What are some of the things in terms of how artists have depicted Job?
Oh, so there's a very long history of depicting Job. So he's typically depicted in Catholicism. He's considered he was given sainthood, and he's considered very. They usually either portray him in one of two states, either very venerable or in his downtrodden and hurt state, basically as a sign of even when he was in his worst state, he was still loyal to God. But there are other depictions that have him far less positively portrayed. Probably one of my favorites, and it's on a cover of one of these. Yeah, this one. This is one of my favorite renditions.
I've seen better.
Huh. Is that his three friends?
Yeah, him and his three friends and his wife, if I remember correctly.
And our background today,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, thank you again.
I don't know what it's called. I just found
putting up all my questions.
good quality one. All right. That is the end of the show then today.
Yeah.
I think it was a very good show, and Chris is so knowledgeable about this. Job is his child. He's going to, I think he's working on like a big thing, like a big commentary on Job, right?
Better be after reading all
Yeah,
those.
I've been working on a commentary on Job for a little bit. My Hebrew and my Aramaic are not quite good enough to where I can do the translation work on it, though.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. All right. So that's the end of the show today. Let's shill some stuff. Patreon.
Amazon wish list.
Yes, Amazon wish list. That's right.
Yes.
Lots of stuff on there.
If you buy us books, we'll make videos about them, and our stuff will generally be of higher quality.
Be way better, yeah.
Yeah.
More source material.
So I want to go shill for that wish list, because if you invest in that wish list, they take those books, they actually use them, read them, and the result is you get a better show. So if you want to improve the show, buy them books.
Not just the show, but all the episodes. Like I used so many of the books that that we have received from the wish list. We've made very good use of.
Wow. By the time we finish
Patreon
Atheist
videos,
Sunday
all those good
School
stuff. Yeah.
and reading the Bible with all the books that we've read,
It's
we
gonna
may have to start over again.
Oh fuck, shit, we might. God damn it.
We're
not actually gonna-
We're gonna actually have to redo this shit. Oh man,
Oh.
no, that's a nightmare. I mean, I'll buy it. It could happen if it happens, but holy shit, you're right. If our scholarly integrity actually is elevated, we really should reconsider going back over everything.
Exactly.
Oh God, no.
We have infinite content ready for you.
Right. Anyways,
That's an
so
existential
Patreon wish list, Teespring, get some cool shirts.
T-shirts like this T-shirt.
Like that one right
Laying
there.
the Bible.
Also,
Yes.
Twitter and Facebook. You can follow us there. There is also a Facebook group, Atheist Sunday School. You can just request to join, and I want us to start using it more often, just to talk about biblical scholarship.
Boy, I wish.
Yeah. So, what else do we have? The website.
Teespring.
Yeah, I already said Teespring.
Thanks,
Spring.
Landon.
email
That's
milwaukeeatheist@gmail.com.
why does that matter? That doesn't matter. That's silly.
If you want to get in touch with us, has the Theosophy Society gotten in
Nope.
touch with us yet?
Nope.
Damn it.
Yep.
Nobody does that.
We reached out to them.
That doesn't mean people
tried
are
to get
willing to
them-
talk, man.
to talk.
I
but
tried.
no.
I tried to get Finkelstein on the show. Israel Finkelstein.
Oh,
It didn't go well.
did you
He
contact
said
Robert Alter?
he just said no. No, I did not contact Robert Alter.
Oh,
Well, he sounds like the translator, man.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think Robert Alter would, because he's really getting up there now.
Yeah, I don't think he would.
You should have got him earlier.
yeah.
we got to take that German time machine from
Uh-huh.
Operation Paperclip. Go back in time.
All right. Let's not give Lawrence brain ulcer here. He's dying with your comments.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, thanks everyone for joining us, and I would like to thank Landon and Chris for being here. We're gonna do a little.
Thank you.
We're gonna do a little after show hangout, which you could be a part of if you become a patron.
Yep. All patrons are
Yes.
invited.
And all the patrons $20 and up.
All patrons $20 and up
you
are
get
invited.
a bunch. You get a bunch of other rewards, obviously, but that is
And
included.
like you get the transcripts and notes of stuff upcoming, and you get first access to some of the great material that they publish.
And you also get to talk with Landon, i.e. God.
Yes.
Oh, thank you kindly.
All right. Anyways, other than that, Chris, I sure hope to see you on the hopefully nearly every show.
You better
for Joe.
fucking hope so.
Yeah, not you, the other Chris. Good Chris.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
because
that's fine.
we don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
All I know about Job is basically what happens in Job.
I know a very little amount. I've read 2
And
short
all I
things.
know is how to ask questions, which of course is the appropriate first step to learn. So.
Yes, definitely agreed. So, everyone, thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the show. Drop a like and subscribe. That's what we forgot. The very obvious
I
like.
said that first.
Yeah, jeez.
Jeez,
you?
Lawrence. Yeah.
Come on.
Like at the end portion?
We can discuss this
I
later.
know you said it earlier in the show.
Are
Clearly.
you okay?
No, I'm not. I'm never okay. Thank you, everyone, and we will see
See you
next
next Sunday.